Well, hi again, everybody. I'm Bill Brenner from CRA, and this is our continuing coverage of InfoSec World 2023. I'm delighted to be joined by Deidre Diamond, who I have known for many years, just through the wider industry. And Deidre is the founder and CEO of CyberSN, founder of Secure Diversity. And if you want to know more about her organization, please visit CyberSN ISW, as in InfoSec World. So welcome.
Yeah, it's so good to be with you.
So you had a talk. Tell us about your talk.
I did. So the title of my talk is We Need a Compliance Control for Retaining Cyber Talent.
Yep.
And the reason I'm calling for this control is because for the last 9 years, I have been intimately privy to the data that is burnout and job changing. We have retention issues, and that's a national security issue. These aren't just jobs, these are security jobs. Of course, they're cybersecurity jobs, which is security jobs. And I don't get it. I don't get why we don't have the budgets for succession planning and for career development, and so I know that nothing happens with change unless there's some sort of regulation, fines. I mean, I've been in the business since 2007. Nobody cared about vulnerabilities until PCI started fining.
That's right.
So, okay, I'm done talking about this.
I remember those Wild West days.
Yeah. I was there. I was selling Rapid7 software as the first VP of sales, and I was so thankful when PCI started fining because that's when people cared. And so I've learned, I'm now in my 50s, I've learned that we need, help sometimes to do the right thing. And so, if you look at the number one reason people leave their employer, it's
churn and burn.
Yeah, it's not a program to develop and retain me. And yes, I'm here to do and be of service to the company. But what happened to that also came with training, development, succession planning, as it did with most professions until recently. We're in this, seems to be this era of disposability has now come to jobs and people, not just materialism. And I don't like it. And I think that this is the one industry I could probably get a compliance control done in, and maybe it'll then help us with all other, but it's not smart what we're doing, this lack of investment in this.
Yeah, I mean, we at Cyber Risk Alliance, we do a monthly survey. We call it the Cybersecurity Buyer Intelligence Report. And the focus is on a specific topic every month. But whatever the topic, in every survey, this is what comes back as the big challenge. The difficulty finding the right hires and then in keeping them. And it's usually within the context of, well, it's easy to job hop and make more money, but what you're talking about, the burnout factor, that's real. And we have seen it cost lives in this industry. I'm thinking, people like Mike Murray. And so I applaud you for taking on the torch for this.
Yes, and I'm definitely not putting it down. There's a group of us that are, working on this framework now. To your point, I want to talk about this a little bit. I talked about this in my talk, this point of people thinking people are leaving their jobs because of money. It is not the case, and let me show where money comes involved. So, people are getting reach outs from recruiters every day, every single day. And so what's the day that made the return? And the day that, what's the day that made that person pick up the phone, or, shows how old I am, or respond to the email, right? It's not the day that they thought about their income. It's not that. However, when somebody leaves a company, they're not going to tell HR the real reasons. They don't even want to tell their own boss the real reasons. I mean, we're not in a society that supports telling the real reasons. You need references, you need networking, you need, right? You're not going to do that. So what's the best thing to do? You're going to say money. And guess what? You did get more money than you're making at that company, because when people make job moves, it's just expected. I mean, there is a risk factor. That could be the same problem. It could be people that are worse. It could be, poor culture. There's so much risk. The older we get, we know those risks could be there. And so, but in general, people do get raises when they move. And so they're not lying when they say, I got more money. Hard to pass up that money. But it also doesn't mean that the real reason they took that call or that in-mail that got that job, or that person that called them about it, it's not the money. It's not. So I think that is something that's clouding this conversation, because there's also the conversation that we're short 500,000 people in the US and 2.5 million worldwide, and that also plays into this. It's not possible to retain. There's a shortage, and you can move and make a ton more money like the snap of your fingers. And it's like, really? Do you hire people that move all the time because of money? No, that's not. So you're not going to do that. And the shortage is mostly, well, yeah, there's a shortage because it takes years to develop the skill. People. And so there's all these topics that are, it's almost like, headline news. It's the buzzwords. It's all that's distracting from what's really going on. And there's two things that's really going on. There wasn't, until literally what we're doing, a common language around cybersecurity jobs, what they are, not titles. Titles aren't the job. A CISO could be 100 different profiles. A security engineer could be 30. An analyst could be 25, it's ridiculous to use titles to suggest that is a way to, understand this talent pool. And then it's literally, succession planning based on career development that was a concept in capitalism from the beginning, and somehow it's disappeared. And so, because these people, all of us, are a part of national security, it seems to be that, we need to solve this immediately. And the budgets aren't there for it. You know that. The budgets aren't there for training and developing and retaining people. And yet, everybody knows when you don't retain people, you lose. And so there's this, what's going on, this lack of clarity. So I'm bringing the facts and the clarity to the conversation. And I think, I'll tell you this. When I first did this talk about 3 or 4 weeks ago, it was a GRC conference in Vegas. And the first thing I said was, I want to know, a poll, before we start this talk, how many of you think we need a compliance control for retaining talent? How many do you think? What do you think the percentage was?
I don't know, 25, 30?
25, 30? No, guess what? 100%. I had 200 and something people in the room. I had a couple of people 100 people online. I'm not kidding. It shocked me beyond belief. I thought by the beginning would be different than the end of my talk. And to just prove this point, the day before I covered for another speaker that couldn't make it. I did jobs data, all the jobs data that we have. And I said, before I start speaking, how many of you think job searching and matching is a broken system? And what percentage do you think said that?
100.
63. So fascinating.
Trick questions you're
I'm
hitting me
tricking you because
I'm
we
supposed to
all
send you
think
the
we
trick
know
questions.
this, like right? But like people want the retention piece solved, and that's my point. I love
get it.
it's a trick question because it shocked me that 100%. When do we ever all agree on the same thing? I mean, seriously, 100%. Today in my talk, exact same thing. And I asked, and I shared that story, and I got the same percentages that you were saying of what people thought people would say. And so that's fascinating, right? And so when you see it at scale, like I do, you'll be out here fighting. So I'm going to make sure you all see it.
Well, I look forward to seeing how it goes and what comes next. But again, I applaud you for carrying the torch for this vital issue. So again, folks, Deidre Diamond, the founder and yeah, that's twice I've done that. You could tell I've been doing these all day because I start tripping over the tongue.
Yeah.
But I also have a laid-back approach to these. So anyway, Deidre Diamond, founder and CEO of CyberSN. And again, if you want to learn more about them, securityweekly.com/CyberSN ISW. We'll be back.